Oh, I think we are live. Beautiful. Hello, hello, hello. How are we all doing? I hope we are well. I hope we're doing okay after the first stream of the Formula One season, the F1 2025, F1 75, F1, whatever you want to call it, event. How are we all feeling? How are we all doing? How are we sort of reacting to the F1 75 live event? I went to the F1 75 live event, which is why I want to have a little chat about it. I don't want to delve into it with you guys. See how you guys thought it went from a perspective if you were also there or if you watched it online versus how it kind of went from inside the stadium itself. Ooh, I can see lots of people talking in the chat, but it's not coming up for me. Interesting. Let's try and sort that out. I have no idea why that's not coming up for me. Let me see what I can do. I can see that there's like something in the background, if you know what I mean, but I can't see the chat messages themselves. And therefore, I imagine people are popping things in the chat that I cannot read. And I want this to be a back and forth between the two of us. Ah, there we go. Is the YouTube chat successfully connected? What is the F175 live event? I mean, you're kind of behind the times a little bit. It was yesterday. So it has happened. It's no longer a live event. It was a live event from before. It is now no longer live. It was definitely an event that happened. And that's why we're going to chat about it, go through the main talking points, get your perspective from fans that watched it, get my perspective. I decided to get a ticket, a bit of a last minute go for it kind of vibe. Just got the opportunity to go. So took that opportunity as you would and decided to jump straight in and go. Otherwise, I would have been live streaming it too. I know quite a few people were live streaming it from their various perspectives as well. I was trying to dip into the live streams and see what people were saying whilst also being there myself. But there's a lot to cover, and there were lots of like little things that I want to know whether you guys saw them, and I also want to know whether or not you thought it kind of worked. Oh, I have left my phone in the other room, which has got my notes on it. That's right, I made notes. When I was there, I was like, right, I'm going to write down the key bits and pieces that happen. Otherwise, I will forget what I have seen and what is happening. Because it was very late evening for me. Like, I understood why they kind of wanted it to start at 8. I don't think it needed to start at 8. I didn't get out of London until maybe 11:30, and then it's another couple of hours home. Like, I wasn't home until the good early hours of the morning. And I don't think it needed to be that late considering what kind of event it was. What was it about? It was the release of the F1 car. Oh no, my camera's also not working. There we go. It was the release of the 2025 Formula One liveries, which is what we all got to witness in all of their glory. I'm going to quickly go and grab my phone because it's got my notes on it. Apologies. And I'm also probably going to change this jumper. It's a very Christmassy, jumpery vibe. I don't know if we're in the Christmas jumper feels. We need more of a Formula One feel to this, really, don't we? So I'll quickly do that too. I'll be back in moments time. Keep each other entertained. throw some things in the chat. Here we go. Here we go. One of the events of all time, I think. Right, let's jump straight into it, shall we? Just as an event, did it work? Was it worthwhile? You know, was it generally quite good for Formula One, or was it just another kind of flash in the pan, we'll never see it again kind of thing? I personally think it was very, very good. Like, I really enjoyed it. I had a great time, went with a couple of friends. We kind of got involved, got there a bit early, had a wander around. Generally speaking, and speaking to the fans that I did on the way out of the event and sort of throughout, like the people in and around me throughout the events as they were going on, most people really enjoyed it. It was a very, very positive vibe that I got from almost everyone that I spoke to be honest. There was a few people that had some gripes with a couple of bits and pieces here and there, but generally speaking, everyone was very, very happy with how it was going and was very happy to sort of just see what it was, whether it was worthwhile. And then it was kind of a bit of a weird, oh my God, what is happening to my camera? Why has my camera decided that today is the day it's not going to work? But as I say, generally, people were really, really sort of enthralled by it. People sort of thought, yeah, this is a good idea. Would they go again? I was asking people kind of, would you go again? You know what I mean? And everyone was saying, yeah, they would go back for another one. I think the historical montages were quite cool. I think the general event was put together really well. There were a few strange choices, I guess. Like I don't know whether the music acts were chosen by Formula One or whether they were chosen by the particular teams, because it felt like some of the music acts were just there specifically because they were linked to a particular team, and some of the music acts were like chosen by Formula One, and I don't know necessarily which ones were which. So I don't know how it really goes. Why am I the only one here on Twitch? Probably because I only started streaming on Twitch maybe 3 weeks ago. So you're very early to the game, Dead Cow, but I appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much for following. Appreciate that too. But yeah, it was a little bit strange. Like the Machine Gun Kelly opening, I was not as sold on as maybe I could possibly be. In fact, let's jump straight into it because I want to see it from the perspective of what was shown on screen. And some of the music did feel a little bit out of place. So if we delve into it, I'm going to slightly change my perspective so that I can see the other screen a bit better. The intro worked, I think, quite well. I was sitting somewhere in and around up here. In fact, can I see myself? Probably not. I was sort of on this middle-ish tier. And to the right-hand side of the stage here. So was kind of up here. We got given these well, it's behind me. We got given these like little light up bits. Never done that in a show before, but that was quite interesting. Had like a little light attached to you that went off. But yeah, the MGK start was a weird way to kick it off, I guess. I think they just wanted to have something a little bit kind of upbeat and get us all going. And I suppose you have to choose somebody, don't you? Oh, why is my camera doing this? You have to choose somebody. And they opted for MGK. No, I don't know how they decided upon that, but that was the choice that they made. I would have rather they just cut the MGK bit and maybe had another 5 minutes of, you know, the Formula One drivers and the Formula One teams. Although we'll get to that later. It was a bit interesting, the lack thereof, sort of actual talking to the drivers and teams, and whether or not you did like that or didn't like that. That seemed to be the thing where people were 50-50 on, right? They either wanted a lot more from the drivers or they weren't really that bothered. And I think both perspectives have reasonable things to say about this. But yeah, the MGK opening was a little bit strange. Most of the people there, I don't think, knew who MGK was. Nobody seemed to know the song. I didn't know the song. To be fair, could I name an MGK song? No, I don't think so. But the start of the show was weird. It was strange to sort of have them. The second thing, and I don't know whether you could see this on the live stream or not, and I'll kind of delve into it and we'll see. Oh no, I guess you must have been able to, because Jack Whitehall was interviewing kind of people down on this floor bit. So the way that it worked is the crowd was split up into 3 sections. There was kind of a downstairs section with like a standing area. There was a second section, kind of middle tier, and then you can see these kind of boxes at the top. And then there was a tier even higher up than these boxes, but the tier even higher up than the boxes was quite small. So the majority of people were in this kind of middle pack seated area. There weren't very many people standing up at all. But there was this area here, which is where all of the drivers were. Or at least I thought is where all of the drivers were. There was some of the drivers that got to come in, sit down, and kind of be part of this malaise of tables that are around. And these were all just like corporate tables. There was various Formula One drivers there and various sponsors that you could see. Like one of the tables had loads of like Mercedes merchandise around it, like the new Adidas Mercedes stuff around it. So I'm assuming that was just like a gift bag that some of the Mercedes sponsors got when they got to their table and things like that. So these were all just corporate seats. I don't think you could, or if you could buy one of these seats, if you could purchase a ticket to one of these seats, it would have been very few. There was a lot of people that like I recognized as like, oh, ex-Formula One driver or ex-Formula One team owner or just person who works for this X, Y, or Z company. So that was quite interesting. I do want to get your guys' perspective on that man there, Jack Whitehall. I quite enjoyed him. I think I've seen Jack Whitehall before. So again, like I come in from this perspective of someone who does quite like Jack Whitehall's comedy. Like I went to go and see him the last time that he was in Norwich with my sister. I've seen him live. I don't mind him. Like I haven't seen any of his TV series or anything like that, but I think he was an excellent choice. He kind of stitched it together a lot better than the other Formula One representatives that were there. I think without him, if they'd have just relied on the kind of the normal Formula One broadcasters, like there was a lot of people from F1 TV and Sky Sports there, if they'd have just relied on them, I think it would have been absolutely terrible because like they had a bad day. Like Jack Whitehall looked and felt natural. Like you can see behind him that there's a teleprompter. All of his stuff was written. So all of his stuff was on a teleprompter. All of it he was reading off. But he kind of naturally had a way of doing that. Everybody else who also had to read off of a teleprompter at any point were dreadful. I don't know if that came across on the live stream, but in real life, it was so awkward. I know the live stream had a small delay. So I know that the live stream went live at like 8, but they put on a little bit at the beginning. Must have been maybe, I want to say like a 3 or 4 minute delay on the live. So this live stream was delayed by a little bit, and I think they gave themselves that wiggle room to maybe cut around bits and pieces if needed. But yeah, Jack Whitehall absolutely carried it. And he was really good, actually. He kind of came out a little bit beforehand. There was a DJ playing while people were coming in, and he was kind of there for that. And you could see that he was sort of scoping out who was where, if you know what I mean. Like, he knew where George Russell, Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, all of the people he was calling out and kind of pre-written jokes about, he was making sure that, one, they were there, and two, he knew where they were so he could kind of point them out. So he did a really, really good job at preparing himself and being set up. And I think it needed somebody like that, right? Yeah, exactly. He's used to presenting in awkward scenarios. Exactly, Sarah. And like, it came across that he'd done it hundreds of times before. Like, he'd done a really, really good job at just making sure that he delivered on the night and kind of got into the right position. I think the intros were really good. Like, when he was talking about the drivers, he sort of mentioned George Russell, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris. I did feel a little bit bad for the other drivers, right? It did feel like, as much as it was supposed to be an event that was about all of the drivers and all of the teams, there was definitely an onus on some of the teams a little bit more. So it was, again, you know, as you'd kind of expect, it was your McLarens, Ferraris, Mercedes, Red Bulls. It was those teams. They got much, much, much more airtime than anybody else, or at least it felt like they did in terms of the chat around it. I know each team got their own little section of the show, but just generally, it felt like those teams were more heavily represented in the show, like in all of the posters and stuff around the actual O2 and all of the merchandise that was available and various bits and pieces like that. Just felt like it was way more McLaren, Ferrari centric, which kind of leads into some of the more awkward bits of the night. Obviously, this first time that he's kind of calling out a few bits and pieces. Do you know what? Who actually stole the show? Who we'll talk about in a moment. James Vowles. James Vowles stole the show. He was so well received by the entire audience. It was untrue. This was really awkward. A little bit further. There we go. This was really awkward. Christian Horner, Max Verstappen, both of them just did not want to be there. Neither of them wanted to be there in any way whatsoever. Hello, Ahmed. You're right. Neither of them wanted to be there. It was really, really awkward. Every single time anything Red Bull came on, not at all, like, great. And it was one of the things where, like, each team obviously got their own time slot, but each team used it in very different ways. It was interesting to see, and I don't know how much kind of leeway Formula One gave them on everything, because it did feel like they'd just been told, you've got 10 minutes, fill it however you want, because each team went a completely different direction, and each team had a lot of different things going on. But as I say, there was more of an emphasis on those top four teams. And these two just did not want to be there. It was a really bad night for those guys. Then generally just kind of going around the event, I thought, well, me and my friend Owen were kind of playing this game where we were trying to spot a fan of each team. So we were just trying to get an idea of the people in the room and what kind of fan base was there. Was it just a generic Formula One fan base, or were more teams represented than others? I'm going to be honest, there was two teams that were represented in that room. That's it. There were two sets of fans inside of that room. They were Ferrari fans who had just bought their first bit of Ferrari merch with Lewis Hamilton on it, and they were Lando Norris fans. Like, the McLaren papaya army was out in full force. I'd say 1 in 3 people was wearing something McLaren centered. And probably the other 1 in 3, so like 2/3 of the people in the audience were Ferrari Lewis Hamilton fans or McLaren fans. That was it. And then it was like filling in the gaps. So like we were playing bingo. We were trying to spot, okay, can we find one fan from each team, or how many fans from each team can we kind of get as we go along? And genuinely, it took us until we got in the arena. So we were there for like the whole afternoon. We probably got there about 3-4 o'clock, and it started at 8. So it took us 4 hours to find an Alpine fan. There was one girl that we kind of spotted from a distance who was wearing an Alpine branded hoodie. That was it. There was nothing else. How much was the food? The food was extortionate. Like, you got there was pick and mix stands everywhere. I don't know whether that's an O2 thing or whether that's a Formula One thing. Just pick and mix stands everywhere. And each of them had like a tiny little cup that you could fill with pick and mix for like £7-8. It was extortionately expensive. But you kind of goes with the territory a little bit. Like, all of the merchandise, it felt like it was extra expensive. I know that on the website, it's not, cheap. You're not getting an easy going jumper or anything like that. But it did feel particularly expensive from my perspective anyway. And maybe that. I did find it interesting that, yeah, as I say, Alpine, we saw one fan. Steak Sauber, didn't manage to see any Steak Sauber fans at all. The only Steak Sauber fan I sort of ticked off on the bingo card was there was one guy wearing an Alfa Romeo jumper. So I was like, well, close enough, close enough to being a Steak Sauber fan. A couple of years ago, that would have been fine. He's bought the Alfa Romeo jumper. He hasn't upgraded since then. That's fair enough. Oh yeah, I was not helping I'm a McLaren fan. I was wearing a McLaren jumper that I got. I was not helping the statistics in any. I should have worn this. I should have worn the RB jumper. There were not a lot of RB fans. There were quite a few Red Bull fans, though, to be fair. There was a lot less Red Bull and Mercedes merchandise about than I thought there was going to be. I thought, like, you definitely see the McLarens. You definitely see the Ferraris. I got that. I did think we'd see more Red Bull. There was a smattering of Red Bull. Barely any RB as well, like alongside that. Almost no Mercedes. And I don't know whether that's just because like everyone's traded in their Mercedes for Ferrari this season, but there was like barely anyone wearing any Mercedes merchandise. And then all of the other teams, I saw maybe 3 or 4 people wearing Williams stuff. I saw maybe 5 or 6 people wearing Haas stuff. Wasn't expecting that. Haas to be like one of the more popular choices of clothing, but still not popular. If you know, like, I saw a lot of people. I was wandering around for the entirety of the event and sort of trying to bump into people, see what people thought of X, Y, or Z. And yeah, it was very strange. Like, the amount of fans from each team was by no means equal in any way whatsoever. And I think that would have definitely come across in the coverage. Then when it came to like each of the teams, and I don't know, do you want to go through them in order from just like the order that they were there, or like best to worst? Because there was a clear distinction between some of these teams being, fitting the order and understanding the assignment to having an absolutely dreadful time. Well, we'll start off because they had to go first. They were setting the precedent with Steak Sauber. And I feel like that's a really tough job because nobody really knew what this was going to be. You know what I mean? Like, nobody had an expectation of, oh, okay, yeah, this is what we're expecting to see from this kind of event. Everyone was a little bit tentative. Nobody really knew what was coming up. But I think Steak Sauber did an excellent job. Me and my friend did like a ranking of like who we thought did the best jobs to the worst job in terms of their livery reveal. I think Steak were in my top 5. Like, they weren't the best. but they were no means the worst. And I think they did a really good job of like opening up the talking points. They had the drummers, they had, you know, a lot of things going on the stage. This was really cool. Oh yeah, you can definitely tell. I was gonna say you couldn't. It was really odd because obviously it's a livery reveal, but the fact that the cars were just like a plastic shell, I didn't know whether that would come across on the live stream or whether you'd be able to tell, but yeah, you definitely can. It was just like a generic plastic car that they painted in a particular way, and they were all over the place. Like, obviously not the livery ones, but there was like a generic Formula one, just like outside of the venue. There was another one that had like the F175 kind of decals around the venue as well. There were so many of these like plastic cars that they clearly had a lot to kind of deal with. And they were therefore like, yeah, let's just paint all of them something and just stick them around wherever we can throughout the venue, because that made sense. But the Stakes Alba one was okay. The actual livery, like the Stakes Alba livery, I don't think is amazing. Like it's maybe a little bit better than last year, but I don't think it's anything spectacular by any means. I think they did an all right job for what they kind of got. You think the Sauber sucked, the endorsement? I thought it was pretty good. I think, again, like as an opener, you just had to do something to get us all going. Max Bosch, thank you. Appreciate it. I get that every single time. Every single time. Williams were interesting. Williams, I think Williams could have done more. I think Williams could have done more, in my opinion. Again, where did I rank them? I ranked them 7th on my list. I think they just could have done more because it wasn't just about this season. It was obviously about the 75 years of Formula One. And they kind of nodded a little bit to the history in terms of the reveal that they had. These were all playing. So, as these kind of documentary style sort of clips were playing, that's when they were like wheeling the car in and out. So the reason that when it cuts back to the car then like being there, during the time that they were playing the video like on this big screen behind, they were also just like running backwards and forwards with like the Stake Sauber car and the Williams car and getting them swapped around. Like it was more just sort of one of those things where they were just running around up and down on the stage, and that was why they had those kind of interluding videos to maybe not show that to those of you that were at home and watching. But yeah, I felt like Williams could have lent a little bit more into their history. I did think James Vowles stole the show though. I think the Williams livery reveal wasn't amazing, but I do think that the just general vibe, because Stakes Albers was, we want to do better, right? It was just like and I suppose for the team that comes 10th in the constructor standings last year, it makes sense that they were like, yeah, this year is all about improving and doing better and being better. Williams just kind of lent into the fact that they've got a sponsor for the first time. Yeah, exactly. Like the title sponsor for the first time in a long time. They just kind of lent into that. They were like, guys, we've actually got some funding. We're going to actually be able to like build stuff and fix our factory. Like they lent into that side of thing. Whereas I think they could have gone a little bit more. James Vowles, though, absolute showman. Like if Jack Whitehall was unavailable, step in James Vowles. He was excellent. Like not just this part that we saw on the live stream, just his general interaction with the rest of the crowd, him getting involved. I love the fact that he was in his Puma trainers. You know, like you saw Toto Wolff on the red carpet. He was like decked out, same Lewis Hamilton, all of the like drivers initially before they had to go and get changed for their bit. That was the other thing. The drivers came in and the drivers were sitting on tables like to the side of the stage, but because they had to, or because the Sauber drivers, the Williams drivers, and the RB drivers, and the Haas drivers, those 4 sets of drivers, they never got to go and sit in the like seats because they had to be ready and in their suits, in their race suits, ready to go out with the cars. So you had like Lando Norris, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, as you kind of saw in the live stream, sitting down on the outsides. The other drivers in the lower teams never got to do that. Like, they never got to see any of the show. They were always back behind the scenes, like in their full racing overalls, which I found really, really funny. Just like the fact that you're a bad team, so you got to go. You got to go and wait out the back. Lewis Hamilton's got his own table with Charles Leclerc and Fred Vasseur. Toto Wolff's got a table with like all of the Mercedes higher ups, and George Russell had a table with like Jenson Button on it. And then it was just like, yeah, but if you're in the bottom 5, in the back, lads, unfortunately, nowhere near the actual tables for themselves. But yeah, James Vowles was great, really, really good. The Williams reveal though, I mean, it's blue. It's still got the Duracell logo, which I do very much enjoy. Everybody loved Carlos Sainz. I will say there wasn't much Williams merchandise around, but Carlos Sainz probably got 3 or like the 3rd or 4th most cheers throughout the evening. So whenever drivers would come up on the screen, like their fans would cheer. When it was Lando Norris, when it was Lewis Hamilton, the place like erupted. Gabriel Bortoleto also got a big cheer for Stake Sauber. Carlos Sainz, though, got a massive cheer. A huge, huge cheer. And it was like, I don't know. I understand he's got a big fan base, but I didn't realize it was as big as it is. Like, he has got a huge, huge fan base. And yeah, it was very, very, like, this interaction, the Williams interaction was one of the more natural ones. Like, Albon and Sainz were very good at this part. Some of the drivers were not, and some of the teams were not. But Williams, as it went, was pretty good. Red Bull Racing, or Racing Bulls, not Red Bull Racing. They were kind of next. I think they did okay. Like, they just played into a very particular audience. Like, I know this guy. I couldn't tell you what his name is even now. Did I make a note of it? Munya. Like, I get that he was kind of part of their reveal. I can understand him being in the video. I don't understand why he came out with the car. And it just meant that the interaction between all of this sort of bits and pieces was really strange. Like, we ended up having Yuki Tsunoda not really talk, Isaac Hadjar not really talk, because he was trying to make jokes around them talking. And it was all just, yeah, a little bit off for me, if I'm honest. I didn't really get it. And then I can't remember his name. Why can I not remember his name? The guy to the left, Laurent Mekies, was okay. The guy to the left was also just really awkward, really strange, didn't interact very well with everything that was going on. Probably the best livery, though. The best livery. Just a really awkward kind of coming down the stage, and they didn't really need Munya. I suppose he was supposed to be running their interview bit rather than getting like Laura Winter up or anywhere like that. But I don't know. He was very good in the video. I got it. I understood. But this whole interaction with the 5 of them on stage felt real weird. Like, it's clever. Yeah, exactly. Playing into the joke a little bit was good. And I think they did a really good job. But it was an interesting one. Then there was this Kane Brown performance, which felt really out of place. Like, felt really, really strange. I think he was there just for Haas, because Haas decided to lean into the like all-American thing. And again, I think that like the brief was clearly, you've got this much time, fill it. And Haas deciding to fill almost all of their time with a performance from, I'll be honest, again, another guy who I didn't know. I hadn't heard of. And I was one of the younger audience members, I would say. Yeah, no one really knew what was happening here. Haas had a bit of a weird one. Little bit of a strange one. But the actual Haas reveal itself, again, going from a Kane Brown performance to a Kane Brown video when no one really knew who he was. But then the car came out, and I get that they were pushing the whole "we are the American team." It felt a little bit strange because obviously Cadillac are joining for 2026, and the fact that they were kind of leaning really heavily into the like we're the American team, when next year it does feel like Cadillac are going to be the more American team. It was a little bit strange. But it was good. It was good. I actually quite like this Haas livery as well. I think it's one of the better ones. The white, the black, it combines quite well. I think they're just good colors, aren't they? When you've got a good color, you've got your Haas red, white, black combo, all good. It was a very nice livery in the end. Nothing really happened though. Ollie Behrman got a pretty good cheer of the drivers on the night. He got a pretty good reception. Not as maybe as big as some of the other rookies, which was maybe considering he was like the British rookie, you know. There weren't a lot of people around that was like big Ollie Behrman fans. I feel like they will be after this season, right? I feel like Ollie Behrman's kind of on for a season where he builds up and establishes himself as one of the main men and gets to go up into a Ferrari seat in the future, which would be very, very cool to have a British driver in a Ferrari car, obviously full time. I know he got to drive for them last year. Haas livery had a retro 90s feel. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Kind of old school a little bit. Lawrence Barretto had a bad evening. I don't know whether it came across, but he was just running around all the time. Like never, I don't know if he like missed a rehearsal or something, but he was running around a lot. And it felt like he was either like picking up pieces of other things and being told to do things that he wasn't kind of expecting, or he just didn't really have 100% clue what was going on and when, because he just didn't really get the whole gist. And again, he wasn't very good at reading off the teleprompter. So, British driver in Ferraris happened before. Nigel Mansell been in a Ferrari car. But his interviews felt really, exactly. His interviews felt awkward. His interaction with Jack Whitehall also felt awkward. I think because Jack was so natural, Lawrence Barretto was very out of place. But generally speaking, didn't do the worst job in the world. The great rivalries thing was very, very fun. Like, I think they needed a little bit more of this. The kind of, these were the big rivalries. I would have preferred a little bit more history than like the weird team show things. Not like the actual cars on stage, but the kind of the weird, for instance, the Kane Brown video where it was just like Kane Brown staring into a blank space for a little while. Shorten this down. Let's cut that down a little bit. Let's shorten that down and then have a little bit more of the actual Formula One back in the day. These were the rivalries, the history, a little bit more of that. So I think that can be learned from. Alpine's was the weirdest reveal of the whole night. Like, I know that this is the guy who does the F1 intro song. But no one knew who he was. Like the Kane Brown one, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's like DJing is always a little bit of a weird one. But it was just the fact that like there was such a big stage, as you can see, and he was just on this tiny little deck. So from where I was just kind of looking at the back of his head, and this didn't work in the venue. I feel like maybe it would have worked, and it worked a bit better on the live stream because you can get up close and personal and you can kind of see that they've got the lights and lasers behind him. But for us guys in the actual audience, this was just 4 or 5 minutes of nothing. Because it was really, really awkward. Oh, thank you, FJBH101 and TB for subscribing to the channel. But yeah, this was super long. And even longer for us guys in the room because, again, I think the problem was, obviously, the teams went in the order that they came in the Constructors' Championship last year. But they needed to, like, collaborate with the people around them. Because, like, we just had Haas, who did the Kane Brown thing, and then Alpine came out and also did, like, a music thing as well, but with this DJ. So it kind of set the road down like, oh, we've had 3 reveals. Like Kick Sauber's was cool and fun. Williams's was a little bit low key. That was just kind of James Vowles chatting. Like very, very low key from Williams. It felt like they saved their budget on that. Then Racing Bulls, there was like fun, a little bit quirky, a little bit out there. And then Haas and Alpine just kind of did the same thing as each other. And especially because they were back to back, it made the Alpine one look even worse. So like the Haas one already wasn't great, but then it made the Alpine one look terrible just because it was back to back. And there were people that during this performance were just using this as like an interval. So there wasn't a stop in the show at any point for us live. So people were just using this as an opportunity to like go to the bathroom, go and grab another drink. It was very, very awkward because, yeah, a lot of the live audience were not actually here for this bit where we had this DJ guy. But the Alpine car, banging. Alpine car looked great in real life. Again, obviously, it's just a plastic shell with the paint on it, but it looked really, really good. I love Brian, but this sucked. Yeah, he wasn't bad. Like it was a good DJ, but again, it was the fact that it had just come after the Haas musical interlude, and it felt like, I don't know, Formula One should have been like, right, if the person before you has like a musical performance, you can't base yours around a musical performance, because both of them did back-to-back musical performances, and then there were no more musical performances, and it went back to being kind of more fun again after that. So it just felt like Haas and Alpine were a little bit out of place, and it felt like they spent their time on a kind of nothing. Like it was just like, yeah, this is Kane Brown singing a song. This has nothing to do with Haas. And the same with Alpine. It was like, yeah, this DJ is good. This has nothing to do with Alpine. It felt like they were kind of wasting their time. You know what I mean? Like as a team, you've got 10 minutes to show your stuff. And then it ended. You saw me on the live stream. I'd be impressed. Unless there was like a panning shot of the audience. I don't remember there being a camera near me at any point. This was super awkward. Again, Lawrence just did not know. Actually, did Oliver Oakes's? Yeah, that that. Okay, it did come across in the live stream. That's good. Oliver Oakes's attempt at a joke there at the end fell completely flat, and I didn't know whether they'd like try and, I don't know, manipulate the sound in some way to make it feel like somebody in the audience maybe reacted in one way or another. But literally, when he was like, oh, well, we need to rise higher. Again, loads of people had gone to the bathroom for the Rise Higher song bit. So nobody knew what he was talking about. So literally no one laughed and no one reacted. So it just felt like he had gone mental. And I'm glad that also came across on the live stream because, as I say, that did not land in any way. There was nobody who, in the live audience, even reacted slightly to Oliver Oakes' joke there. And they just cut it. They were like, yeah, good. Thanks, Ollie. Goodbye. Laura Winter had a bit of a weird evening. She was good in parts. She was like really, really good throughout this section. Like she was really, really good for the first sort of 80% of the. Oh, do you not have the sound? Apologies. I thought I put the sound on. I've probably muted it. Yeah, but Laura Winter, she was great for. Hang on, I'll show you the Oliver Oakes. The Oliver Oakes bit was so awkward, man.
This has been a great event. Thank you guys. So happy to.
He was the only man that laughed. He laughed at his own joke. He laughed at his own joke, and no one else did. Nobody else laughed at the Oliver Oakes joke. I felt really bad for him. He just he just absolutely failed. No one really got it. As I said, loads of people just went to the bathroom during the DJ set. It all went real bad real fast. I just could not be worse at this point. Do I think it was better than the normal individual team reveals? Yes, massively. Yeah. I said at the beginning of the stream, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good. How did I even get a ticket? I didn't. My friend got a ticket and then couldn't go. So I nabbed the ticket from him. But yeah, it was all a little bit strange. Moving on to Aston Martin. Now, this might be controversial. I don't know how it went down with the guys at home. Aston Martin, I think I had them as the second best reveal, you know. I really enjoyed the kind of Aston Martin James Bond joke that they were going for. The reveal. The fact that did they show? They must have shown the Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll both inside of the stadium, right? This was great. Like there was a lot of people. I wasn't overly close to this, but like everyone went absolutely mental. In fact, on the they didn't show it. It was really weird. So as the Aston Martin video was showing, so like during this Aston Martin video, they had already set up the camera to obviously be looking at where Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso were going to come through, and actually like, you know, reveal that they were in the helmets, and therefore there was a good 30 seconds to 45 seconds where the camera was just on this random security guard. So on one screen, we had the like Aston Martin James Bond reveal thing. And on another screen, we had this random guy like who was just standing by a door in a pink vest because he was the security that was going to let Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso through, because they like closed off obviously that entrance whilst the Aston Martin thing was playing. So yeah, it was really weird that like we all knew what was coming because they were pointing the camera at this door already, but for some reason they started showing that camera's perspective before the actual trailer that Aston Martin did had finished. Real strange, real weird, but actually kind of added to it. It was just quite funny to watch this security guard stare at himself on the screen for a really long time. And then obviously they all came out. Aston Martin kind of did 3 reveals though. And like they just went all in. That's why like some teams did absolute bare minimum. Aston Martin did everything they possibly could. They did the James Bond reveal. They did the cool animation reveal of like Aston Martin past and present. And then they did a song, but a song intertwined with the reveal of the car with an orchestra. Like, the song reveals for Haas and Alpine were bad. The song reveal for Aston Martin kind of worked. It was in the theme. You know what I mean? It all was very synchronized. You can tell that they spent a lot of money as Aston Martin on this. I think Aston Martin probably spent the most on their reveal, but it was worth it. It was real good. And the reveal for the car itself, Lawrence Stroll in the audience, saw him kind of on the red carpet. Weird that he didn't take this scarf off. So I found this really strange. We got to see the drivers and stuff on the red carpet as they were coming through on like the big screen while they were still setting up the stage around before the show. Lawrence got out of his car, spent like 10 minutes trying to get this scarf on because it was cold outside. But then I thought, oh, well, what's the point? Because you're going to take it off when you get indoors. He just didn't. Just kept the scarf on. It was boiling in there. By the time like it got to the end of the 2 hours, it was swelteringly hot because there were so many lights and so many things going on. Absolutely boiling hot. And he was still wearing a scarf. Mad, mad, man. Like, obviously for the fashion, but I appreciate it. And then the Aston Martin car, you know, kind of what you expect it to be, isn't it? It's green. It's got yellow stripes. Is what I wanted from an Aston Martin car. But I think they were the second best reveal. I had them down on my list. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Did you enjoy the Aston Martin one from your perspective? I just felt like they did everything right. They threw everything at it, and everything pretty much stuck. Was it almost impossible to get tickets? Yeah, absolutely. Ridiculously. Like, I tried a few different times. I was just really lucky. Like, so many people. There was very, very few tickets. It wasn't necessarily just like corporate and bits and pieces like that, because they were all in the section down below. There was a lot of journalists. There was a lot of journalists. Like, I saw all of the guys from like the race, for instance. I saw, what's her name? Tonya Cohen Brown? Something Cohen Brown. I saw her. There was a lot of like Formula One journalist people that took up a good chunk of the seats, to be honest with you. So it wasn't necessarily partners. I think it was more journalists. Like, yes, like people who were covering it for X, Y, or Z that have now written, 10, 15 articles about it. How much did my ticket cost? I got it through a friend. I think, like, I got it because he couldn't go. I think it was, like, in the region of, I want to say, like, 120 quid. Like, it was a financial loss. A considerable loss. But there we go. Shall we move into the big four then? The F1 movie was interesting. Again, they played this on the big screen. This was actually because the Aston Martin reveal, because Aston Martin used everything, right? They had the James Bond reveal and the bit on the screen. They had the orchestra. They had the car. Like, Aston Martin took a long time to clean up. And I thought that these like interludes where they showed like the future of Formula One, the history of Formula One, they were very well placed for like the teams that needed tidying up. So like Haas, there wasn't really anything to do apart from move the car. But for the greatest rivalries in F1 history, it's because they needed to set up the desk for the DJ. So like they just played that little minute, 30-second F1 greatest rivalries just so that they could set up the Alpine desk for that guy. And same here, the future of F1, it was just because Aston Martin had so much to set up and then so much to take down. There were hundreds of people running onto the stage as soon as this trailer started to play, because Aston Martin, as I say, just had hundreds of things to take off of the stage and move around because they hadn't set it up very well. Mercedes went a little bit minimalistic. I want to know, did they show the Mercedes botched pit stop? Oh, they did show it. They did show it. The front left just wouldn't come off. Just would not come off. Though I felt really sorry for them because they're obviously not the actual pit crew, are they? Like, it's just... Why is Lewis Hamilton sponsoring the F1 movie? He's not sponsoring it. He was a producer in it. He's actually part of the production team. But yeah, the front left well, the actual front right, but front left from the perspective that we were looking at, got stuck, and it just a lot of people were giggling at that. Basically, like you can't hear it on the. I don't think you can hear it on the coverage. Nah, you couldn't hear it on the coverage. There was a lot of like, oh, that went, that didn't go very well, etc., etc. But then the Mercedes reveal, Mercedes was kind of boring, wasn't it? Kind of very middle of the road. I'd say like Mercedes and Williams were very comparable to one another. Like there was kind of one end of the spectrum. I think Haas and Alpine and one more team that we're going to get to were on the absolutely dreadful kind of end of the spectrum. RB, Williams, Mercedes were kind of in the middle. Sauber, I think, were in that middle pack. And then I think 3 teams did really, really well. Aston Martin did really, really well. And 2 more of the teams that we're going to get to. But Mercedes were just kind of in that middle pack. Yeah, I suppose he's effectively sponsored. No, because he's getting paid to be a producer. Like, if anything, they're sponsoring him. like he's getting paid to be a producer on the film. So, yeah, Mercedes, a bit boring. But kind of what were you expecting from Mercedes, really? They're quite dull, aren't they? You know, they've already told Valtteri Bottas that he's not allowed to do his nude calendars anymore and stuff like that. If you're expecting excitement and fun from Mercedes, you're in the wrong place, I'm afraid. Like, they are very corporate, and they are very much like, we are here to just do the business of this thing, and then it will be done, and thank you very much. Good night. So, like, Toto Wolff just kind of in and out, one and done. Great job. See you later. Goodbye. And that was kind of it when it came to the Mercedes bits. What do I think? McLaren will win this year? Oh, we'll get there. Get there. Oh, I see. You also bring money into the production? I did not know that. Bottas will slay. I mean, Bottas is obviously their reserve. But yeah, they've already nerfed Bottas. Like, no more Bottas naked calendar, I'm afraid, this year. So, back to Mercedes and back to being a little bit boring, unfortunately, for Valtteri Bottas. Kimi Antonelli got a pretty good reception, actually. Kimi Antonelli got a bigger cheer than George Russell, which I think would be quite like a bigger cheer than that. Gordon Ramsay then, again, like a little bit of an interlude while they were setting up for the Ferrari reveal. The Red Bull reveal. Gordon Ramsay was good. Again, you can like the problem was the kind of people that work in Formula One are obviously really good at the on the ground, doing the track side, doing the kind of general bits and pieces. They're not used to being in front of a really big live audience. Whereas Jack Whitehall, Gordon Ramsay, like they were just in their element. You know, they're used to being in front of however many thousand people. Gordon Ramsay was having a whale of a time. Like, I don't think this was I think this was like predetermined, or you know what I mean, or pre-written. I think Gordon Ramsay knew he was going to be interviewed by Jack Whitehall, but the interaction nonetheless was still very, very good. And they were both really natural. It was written on a teleprompter again. So there was like lines that they were both saying that were just on the teleprompter, but they did kind of add a little bit to it. And again, they were natural enough that they could kind of flow in and out of reading teleprompter to actually having conversation and sort of back and forth like that. So I thought they were probably the best bit of some of the stuff that went on, which I suppose we can kind of give it to Formula One because, as I say, some of the Formula One journalists and the Formula One people that they had there were really good at the other bits. They're really good at being there on the day, being on the pit wall, etc., etc. They're not great at being in front of an audience. Great that Gordon Ramsay had a bit of a jab at the FIA as well for the whole swearing thing. Again, that it was very contrived. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what can we talk about, or who can we get to talk about the kind of controversy of swearing in Formula One? How about a man who's literally made his living from being a swearing man on television? Like, it was very, very contrived, but I kind of enjoyed it. I liked the back and forth that they had, and Gordon Ramsay was real good. Obviously, they then did the whole like Formula One is fun thing. Could I actually hear the mics? Yeah. They were playing it inside of the stadium, and we could hear like any chat that was going on. There were a few bits and pieces where like mics were cutting in and out. But again, that doesn't seem like it happened on the live stream. And they had loads of backups. Like Jack Whitehall's mic, there was a guy behind the camera with another like 3. Like, if any of them went wrong, they were ready and raring to go. Like, they did really well. Jack Whitehall, yeah, famous British comedian. He's great. Really good. Not linked to Formula One in any way, but I think they needed that. They needed somebody who knew what they were doing. And Jack Whitehall's like presented and done loads and loads of different things like this. And they needed somebody outside of the Formula One space that could kind of jab at it. Like his jokes about all of the liveries being the same, the tax evasion, the George Russell, Max Verstappen kind of banter, like that all landed really well with the audience, which is why when there were those awkward situations, like Alpine's whole thing was really awkward. Just nothing, like nothing from the audience. So, I don't know. It was a little bit up and down. Red Bull had the worst night. The Red Bull were by far and away the worst livery reveal. Like, Alpine's was awkward. Haas's was kind of awkward too. Red Bull's was just bad. Like, I don't know whose idea this was. And like, they didn't even try and win the audience over, was the problem. Like, Max Verstappen came up on the screen towards the beginning, got booed. Christian Horner came up onto the stage, and in fact, I am... Nah, they didn't catch it. There was they caught the boos. There was a lot of people shouting like cheat whenever Christian Horner was on the thing. There was a lot of people like screaming like about Abu Dhabi 2021. Again, it was the majority of people there were Lewis Hamilton fans. So there was a lot of hate directed towards Red Bull. And anytime Max Verstappen or Christian Horner or anybody was anywhere near the stage, they got a lot of shit. Like, absolutely ridiculous amount. And yeah, drinking that Red Bull makes them cool theme, it was just super awkward, super cringe. And they just didn't help themselves. They were already the villains of the piece. And then it was rubbish. You know what I mean? Like, Christian Horner did this whole speech thing, but he was really awkward because, to be fair, he was just getting berated with abuse. So he didn't want to be there. He just wanted to leave the stage as soon as he possibly could. Like, again, it doesn't come across maybe on the live stream itself, but there was people at the end of the stage, so maybe about 15 meters from where Christian Horner is right now, berating him with abuse and like screaming and shouting and swearing and just like calling him a cheat and making jokes about when they broke the cost cap as well, like continually just berating him. So the fact they didn't lose his cool at any point and actually just kind of shrugged it off and was like, this is the video, see you later, was actually kind of fair enough. It was actually kind of fair enough. And then the video was dreadful. The video was really awkward and rubbish. Yeah, I didn't even watch it in the end. I took this opportunity to, like, the full Red Bull reveal, I took the opportunity to kind of make some notes and do some other bits and pieces and just make sure I had everything set, because obviously we knew it was coming towards the end with Ferrari and McLaren still left to go. So I was just getting bits and pieces like sorted. Whereabouts was I sat? Just up to like this corner, basically. So I was sort of looking again at the back of Christian Horner's head here. So couldn't really see him, but he was getting berated. The video was rubbish. And then Max Verstappen was super, super awkward. This guy next to Max Verstappen was basically like pushing him down the walkway. Again, I don't know if you can kind of see that. Max Verstappen was not happy about it. And like I was that side of the stage, so I kind of saw that happen and was a bit confused. And then Max Verstappen also confused. They just did a wave. The Red Bull team did not want to be there. Not want to be there in any sense of anything. And this was just rubbish. Like, this is just dreadful. Fair play to them that they did it. But yeah, they just got berated. The follow the truck video, it was awful. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could have... I know Max Verstappen didn't want to do it. But the fact that we also didn't get the chance to speak to Liam Lawson at any point either was just like, ugh. Is that, Who are these people? Absolutely no idea. Just like random people that they found on the street, I think. Like, it wasn't, the problem was there was no choreography to this either. So like everyone else who had like a dance or the orchestra, for instance, for Aston Martin or anything like that, it was like really well choreographed and everyone kind of knew what they were doing. This just looked really awkward, and they only kind of they didn't really come very far down the stage. So like it was a very, very long stage, and all the other teams kind of did the full walk down. I think Red Bull only got like a quarter of the way, halfway down, if that. And then they just left it. Yeah, literally that. They didn't bother coming all the way to the end, because there was also a bit where the car could kind of like go up and go down, and we've seen it before with the other teams, but the car kind of sometimes disappeared underneath the stage and things like that, so they could wheel it a different way. They didn't even get it far enough to get to like the trap door where it could come down. Like, it was just really, really bad. Really, really bad. Enzo Ferrari's birthday tribute was really fun. Obviously, just before the Ferrari reveal. Ferrari's reveal, I had as third best. I know some people are saying it's second best. Like, some people were saying it was as good as McLaren's. I think the Aston Martin just sneaks in there for me. Just sneaks in there for me. I think Max will become an 8-time world champion. He's certainly got the talent to do it. I just don't think that Red Bull will be able to deliver him that car. And I don't think he's got the passion to do it. Like, his contract comes up to an end in 2028. I don't know if he'll stay that much longer, to be honest. Doesn't stop Liam from getting into it. Yeah, that's the other thing. It was like, Liam felt a little bit awkward and out of place, I think. Like, Liam Lawson's hairstyle change was interesting. But I don't know. I think Ferrari did a really good job. Ferrari kind of knew. The thing with Ferrari was they knew exactly what they needed to do. They lent into the whole heritage thing. They lent into the Enzo Ferrari, and then going back 75 years, the fact that they've been there from the start. Obviously, that's something that only they can lean into. So they did, which made perfect sense. And then they just spent a lot of time letting us chat to Fred Vasseur, Charles Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton. And like, that's what people wanted. People were there to see Lewis Hamilton. They were like, here you go, here's Lewis Hamilton. That's all they needed to do. Like, they didn't need a gimmick, I guess. They just had Lewis Hamilton. They put Lewis Hamilton on the stage, and Lewis Hamilton did his thing. And everyone was like, great, love that. See you soon. This was super awkward. So after the Ferrari bit, did they show the FIA like actual thing on the screen, or did they decide to cut away from it? Laura Winter really screwed this bit up, but half of these graphic designers called off sick. I mean, like, the liveries never change. The liveries do never change. Was weird for Stefano to mention Bernie. I got it though, I guess. He was sort of talking about the heritage of the sport. Yeah, Laura Winter really messed up this bit, this like interaction between the two of them. But she had been pretty good for the rest of the evening, so I'm not going to hold it against her. She did pretty good job, generally speaking. Wait, did they not show the FIA bit? Oh, they didn't show it on the screen. So the reason that people started booing wasn't just because they mentioned the FIA. They put like a big picture of the FIA logo. And I think they were going to play... Oh, no, I don't think they were. It felt like they were going to play some kind of FIA thing, like in the background, whilst he was talking. But they ended up just kind of putting up the FIA logo, because as soon as it went up, the whole crowd started booing. So everyone started booing. Then they took the FIA logo down. And it was like, and done. I thought that was interesting, though. Like, that will definitely get back to the FIA. But they didn't actually show the image. It was because there was like a picture of the FIA like logo.
All can enjoy the evening.
So much.
Yeah, they didn't really show it in the way that it was. There was a lot of graphics kind of going. As Stefano was talking through bits and pieces, there was a lot of graphics going on. But I suppose because of where they were stood and because they'd shot it from that perspective. Hang on, actually. Are they on the stage? Is this the... Were they up there? I swear they were down on the stage. Maybe I was watching them. No, they can't have been. Yeah. They must have been up here. They must have been up here. But yeah, they've got the crowd booing the FIA on the stream, but they haven't got the like images and stuff that went with it. So you heard the booing, but you didn't. Like, it doesn't really show why they were booing. It's because they were showing loads of like images from the FIA and bits and pieces like that. That was why people started booing. And then McLaren did the best job. I know that I am a biased McLaren fan. I don't know what's going on with my camera today. I know I'm a biased McLaren fan. I get it. But McLaren did the best job. They played this whole McLaren like video whilst they were setting up these cars. And I know that they're like replicas because there was also some Senna cars and bits and pieces kind of dotted around. So McLaren brought loads of these. And they also had some like around the venue, not just on the stage with them. There was loads of these kind of mock-up cars around the venue itself. But yeah, they just absolutely nailed it, to be honest. When they were wheeling these cars onto the actual stage, it just looked amazing. Like, they just wheeled all of them on like one after the other in this kind of line. It looked really, really good whilst obviously the video was playing. And then, yeah, Zach Brown, Andrea Stella, they're just good at what they do. The fact they got Martin Brundle, again, it just works. Like, no offense to the guy, the Munya guy from RB, just didn't really work. Lawrence Barretto was a bit of a rubbish choice from whoever decided to kind of get him for those couple. Martin Brundle was perfect. Really, really good. Absolutely perfect. Am I going to watch Man City, Real Madrid? I am, but like after this. So not live. Be very weird if I turn this into a football channel all of a sudden. McLaren definitely did not do the greatest job. Do you not think? Live, maybe it was because it was a very McLaren-centric audience as well, though. Like, everyone was absolutely buzzing during the McLaren section. Everybody was kind of really, really getting involved. It was like, McLaren are here. This is the best bit. We're all going to celebrate McLaren together. Lando Norris is a genius, etc., etc. It's like, it was amazing. But again, maybe that was because it was a very Lando Norris centric audience that was kind of in front of them. Because when McLaren came out, everyone went mental. But yeah, they did a really good job. And the kind of the older cars from previous years. Zach Brown was really good.
But in terms of livery, we wanted to stay in continuity with last year's car.
I think the problem was the only thing that let them down was the livery, right? That was the only problem. Where did I get the neon track on the wall behind me? There's a link in the description. Did I get any LED wristband? We didn't. We got an LED, like... Can I reach it? No. We got an LED thing. Like an LED necklace. I can't remember what these are called. We got an LED to put around our necks. And that was why, yeah, like you can kind of see the faint lights in the backgrounds. But yeah, not a band as such, but like a little LED to put on your person. Did you watch the Max v George rap battle yet? What? What? I mean, I haven't, no. Is that like an epic rap battle of histories kind of thing? But yeah, McLaren did an amazing job. McLaren did the best job. Jack Whitehall was great. This was really awkward. This was really, really awkward. So, getting here, right, so Jack Whitehall did a great job, but he kind of... the way that he phrased this, and also the way that the program was written, meant that everyone kind of thought that the Take That performance was the end, right? So Jack Whitehall kind of does his thing. He's like, this is it.
From one of the biggest bands on the planet. Over there,
yeah, to sing us out. He says, like, to sing us out, one of the biggest bands on the planet. So everyone was like, oh, so that's the end then. You know what I mean? Like, Take That is going to be the end. And then everyone in the audience was like, oh, okay. And on the program, it said Take That was the final thing. So everyone was like, right, Take That. That's all. So everybody started leaving. Can you tell? Probably not, because they're focused on Take That. During Take That, let's see the audience. Can you tell? I guess you can't really tell because it's too dark. Everybody started leaving here. Like, loads and loads of people were leaving. And yeah, so many people stopped watching. That was the same for the people in the crowd. So people paid hundreds of pounds to obviously go. They left and they missed, probably, in my opinion, the best bit, right? And I'm not talking about Take That. Like, I don't mind Take That. They're great. But everybody started leaving during Take That. Nobody really understood that there was going to be all of the teams on stage together. So when they started showing Take That, and when they kind of Take That did their big, like, this is it, goodbye. Like, exactly. Sarah would have done the same. Just started leaving. Everyone started like here. Can you tell? I think no, you can't tell. It's too dark. But there were empty rows of seats in front of me. Like I stayed because one of my friends actually really likes Take That. So we just kind of stayed to watch Take That. And to be fair, I was like, right, I've paid over £100 to be here. I'm gonna get every single minute of entertainment that I can. You know what I mean? I'm not that kind of person when it comes to like gigs and things like that. I will stay until it ends. So I was just there sitting and waiting, and it was kind of going on and on and on. Take That were there. But then they obviously played this. People were really confused at why this was playing. Like, people thought, or like, I thought maybe it was like an outro thing. Like, they were just going to play this in the background whilst everyone left. Because they also brought up the lights at this point. But what we didn't realize, they brought up the lights because then all of the cars started coming out again. And that was when it like clicked for so many people that, yeah, the audience shouldn't have left. So they probably should have told us that they were going to be coming out. No one knew that they were all going to come out at the end together, all in one big group. Because as I say, I reckon half of the like section that I was in was empty by the time I started leading into like the next season. The rookies bit was quite nice, actually. The fact they showed all 5 of the rookies. But this then started playing. People were really, really confused. But as this is playing, the reason this is quite long is because there were... So to move the actual cars, because they were on railings when they came out originally, that was fine. But because they wanted all of them out on stage at the same time, they had to like manually walk them all out. So this as well, the reason that they've kind of blocked off the stage at this point, I think they underestimated how long it would take to get all of the cars out onto the stage, because you can kind of tell that it's starting to thin out in terms of the audience as well. Just like looking at the number of lights, like the audience had really thinned out by this point. But yeah, they definitely overestimated how long it was going to take. I think this was like a backup, because for some reason, well, they just read out the order of the calendar, and it was just really awkward and weird and terrible. But I think this was a filler because the video to get the cars out on the stage wasn't long enough. Because at this point, there was still all of the drivers walking out onto the stage, because all of the cars were kind of there and the cars were ready to go, but the drivers weren't. So then the drivers started running out onto the stage as well, kind of wandering down. And then once they were placed, they were like, phew, done. And then they revealed this. But when they revealed this, like all 10 teams on the stage together, as I say, there was a lot of people that left. There was a lot of people that left. In the standing crowd, can you see it? Can you tell? I wondered if it came across. I wondered if they just kind of cut around. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, you can really see it there. It was so, like, that is just poor organization on their part. They literally just, nobody knew. And that was the other thing, like, during the Kane Brown performance and during the Alpine reveal, people kind of used that as their break. Like, I know people or people around me were like going to the bathroom during the Kane Brown performance, or like they were going to grab drinks during the Alpine performance, things like that. They just weren't that bothered by it. But yeah, then everyone left during Take That, and you can really see it like fully thinned out. Jack Whitehall came back out, did a really good job. This was amazing. This was the best bit. Like just seeing all of the drivers on it together, all of them standing in their teams. This was great because you just got to see like everyone. And this got me really excited for like next season. This was exactly what I needed. Just seeing all 20 drivers there in their race suits. I know that they're not the real cars, but you know, close enough for the night. I'll accept it. Like just all there ready to go was amazing. And like this was the best bit of the entire night by a mile. And as I say, most people missed it because most people didn't know it was happening. And most people just kind of were like, well, it's Take That. And I'm not really a big fan of Take That. So bye. It's really, really weird that they didn't make that, like, make it really clear that that was going to be a thing. But it's just very Formula One, isn't it? And then obviously all the drivers disappeared. I tried to like stick around and see, like, obviously no one was going to get access to the drivers or anything, but it was more just kind of getting access to who was there. And I was trying to gauge, like, as I say, how many fans of each team were there and what, but it was effectively the same. Like when I was going in and coming out, just loads and loads of Lewis Hamilton fans, constantly Lewis Hamilton fans. And that's about it. Closed the stream. Yeah, exactly. So many people thought it was over. That's not just you at home. There was people in the live audience. There was like half, maybe more than half of the people left during Take That. It was insane. Just like ridiculous. The fact that like that happened. And those people paid hundreds of pounds, remember? Hundreds of pounds to go there. And all of them completely missed it. Completely missed it. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't know how they get away with it. How nobody is just gonna like, bring that up at some point. Like, guys, how on earth did we get to the point where everybody had left during the big finale? Oh, dear. I will have to check out this Max Verstappen versus George Russell rap battle, though. But that was the F1 2025 F1 75 live event. Honestly, I would go again. Like, it was really, really fun. A great day out. Loads of Formula One stuff going on. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. It was a bit over the top, but it was organized by the same people that do the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Need I say more? You know what I mean? Like, very much just organized by the people that do the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Made sense that it was a little bit out of place, maybe. I don't know. A little bit kind of awkward, but did really well. I think Formula One will do it again. I'd go again if they did it again. I think they should do it in different places, though. Like, they've kind of done it in the O2 now in London. Maybe go, I don't know, New York or something. Like, do an American one. Maybe do one in, like, it would probably end up being like Qatar or Bahrain, won't it? Or Abu Dhabi, somewhere like that. Maybe do one in Australia. That'd be really cool. Like, kind of dot them about a bit more. Would have only gone if you got invited. I mean, that's kind of what happened to me, to be honest. I missed out on getting a ticket and then got invited. However you balance that. But yeah, it was same people that do the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Obviously, like, it was organized by Formula One, and Formula One own the Las Vegas Grand Prix. So that was how it went. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me for an hour and a half of just kind of reminiscing, having a little chat about the ins and outs of what we saw. Also, just wanted to do the stream as a little bit of a practice, because obviously we've got some testing action coming up next week. We will be back live watching every single Grand Prix throughout the 2025 season all together. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you very, very soon.